Welcome to Living Fuel TV. I'm Casey Krejci. This is my special guest, Dr. Leonard Smith. Welcome, Leonard.
Thank you, Casey. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here.
Leonard is a dear friend, and he's an alternative integrative medicine expert. He's a medical advisor at the University of Miami on integrative medicine. He's a former general surgeon for many years. I mean, how many years did you practice?
About 30.
So I'm interested to know the transition. Now, you went from general surgery, and now you know a lot about a lot. People say, what is Leonard's specialty? I said, do you tell people they know a little about a lot of things? Well, you know a lot about a lot of things. And so I'm always fascinated when we sit down. My wife always says I need a pad and paper because you come up with the coolest stuff that you're in the literature. But before you didn't read much of the journals when you were doing surgery because of your time commitments.
Right. Well, it even started before that. I got to thinking is that I think one of my great blessings from God was just an innate curiosity about how things worked. And at one point it was cars, but then I moved quickly into animals, and my dad would get upset with me because I would dissect fish rather than just clean them. But I had this just burning desire to learn more about anatomy, and I really had no idea that I was going to surgery, and that was a whole different set of events what got me to medical school. But during my surgical career, I was fortunate enough to be very well trained at the University of Miami, and I was very blessed that the majority of my patients did very well. But I didn't really have time to study or read the way I'd like to, so when I actually decided to retire for mainly personal reasons with regard to family commitments and one thing and the other, actually to finally get a chance to spend time with not only my children, but particularly my grandchildren, I started reading. And my golly, I was like the kid lost in the candy store. I mean, and being a medical advisor for the university, I actually get access to medical journals, and I just spend all kinds of hours. And it's very humbling because as soon as I think I understand some of these pathways in medicine, somebody's just added on a couple more pieces that may be supportive in that direction, or may be turning around going the opposite direction. So it's a fascinating time to be here on the planet and learning what we're learning and finding new and better ways to help people. But one of the comedies of it is so much of it goes back to basic, simple health. And
it's always been that way, hasn't it?
It's always been that way.
I would say it's interesting how you go back to 1950 and you go look at how the standard of care, and then you go to 1960, and then in 1950 it was heresy, and then in 1970 you look at 60 and that was heresy, and so you no wonder why they talk about practice in medicine. But the point is that what you guys, I once heard it said like this, that a well-meaning doctor comes out of medical school, he is absolutely committed to read one full long article and 2 abstracts every single day, no matter what. And so they say in 12 months he's 400 years behind in the literature.
Exactly.
And no
doctors,
not going
to be enough to get you very far.
No doctor's able to do that with their commitments because they have so many patients and so little time and so on. So that's fascinating. So what got you really interested in alternative medicine? Because there's so many techniques that aren't even taught.
I would like to. If I get around to writing a book on it someday, I would dedicate it to all the patients who passionately ask me, what else can I do, doctor? Have you ever heard of vitamin C? Have you heard of eating more of a vegetable diet? Have you ever heard of macrobiotics? And this was back in the early 80s. And so I said, well, didn't learn anything about that, but I'll look it up. And the more I looked up about vitamin C and heard about Linus Pauling and that, I said, this is obviously something of value. No, there is no one little thing that's the magic bullet, but there's a lot of things, both in the whole area of nutrition, diet, lifestyle, detoxification, elimination, sleep, stress reduction. I mean, that's now in my early in the 80s with my cancer and cardiovascular patients, I was putting them all on a program like that. They either live longer. They either live longer or they live better, or both. And some of them I had, when I quit practice, I still had cancer. I'd say, well, you just got a touch and you're above it, so just keep doing it. I do think that our basic physiological gift from God is enough to take care of most things if we would just go back to the basics of pure water, pure organic food, mostly plant-based, sleeping. That's the one that I really trashed that during my surgery career. I mean, I thought people were really some sort of a wimp if they got more than 4 hours of sleep a night. So it's only by the grace of God I'm still here after 20 or 30 years of that. I mean, there's data out there showing that 7 hours is required for most people, minimum 7 to 9 hours, if you want to have optimum hormonal balance and detoxification. And then the whole issue of elimination, what a problem that is. But these are the things I would share with the patients after I finished the surgery, and I saw some very remarkable results, and I just became more and more convinced that we all need to look at foundational health, and that's not taking away from our need for doctors or internists or anybody, because most people can only do that but so well, and even if you do it impeccably, then your genetic code and the environment you live in and time itself, it'll all catch up with you. But I just love to help people be healthier so they can enjoy their life.
That's awesome. So how do you advise people? What is the main thing that they need to be thinking about? That they can make little changes right now that can really make an impact in their life. I mean, what's being missing? Like for instance, when someone has surgery, the difference in someone that has extremely good nutrition subsequent to surgery,
right,
and someone who has terrible nutrition subsequent to surgery, what's the difference in healing time?
It's remarkable. As a matter of fact, the times I had the greatest fear operating on people is when they were in a very depleted state. And as a matter of fact, if they're depleted enough, you don't operate. You put them on either you put an IV in their subclavian, or now they can actually run them up from the arm, but you feed them intravenously if they can't physically eat, to make sure that, we even have parameters like, if your albumin level's less than 4, it means your protein nurture is down low enough that you really might not do well with healing anything. So yeah, there's no doubt about it. In terms of just back to foundational health, you really need to eat not just, I said, a plant-based diet. The biggest plug today, I think, is for an organic diet. I think we really need to choose organic food, and if more people would demand it, more people would sell it. I've seen even places like where on Winn-Dixie on Key Biscayne now has a wide variety of organic foods because people demanded it. So I used to jokingly say people would start having to buy a house next to Whole Foods because they're the ones that started it. But more and more, I think with people eating more organic food and demanding it, we'll get it, because I don't think we're going to, anytime in the real near future, I'd love to think we would, but I don't think we're going to be done with insecticides, pesticides, herbicides, chemical fertilizers, genetically modified food, all of which is having some sort of an impact on our body that's not. We're gifted with pretty good detoxification systems, particularly when you're younger, but with every decade you live, it becomes more critically important that you eat organic food.
I just saw a study from Environmental Working Group that said that they tested the cord blood of 10 American women.
Yeah, exactly.
Had 300 different chemicals in the cord blood. So it's passing directly from generation to generation.
The cord
BPA,
blood, the umbilical cord from the fetus you're talking about, yeah.
BPA, exactly. all the ones that you would expect.
Exactly.
But anyway.
And we wonder why the kids have neurodevelopmental problems.
Right.
And autism is a big one, but just look at all the other things they have.
Right. Yeah. Well, this is fascinating. We could go all day with it, but we're just going to cut it here and go on to another segment. But thank you again, Leonard.
You're very welcome.
Here's to your super health, and we hope you enjoyed it.